All right, y'all, another episode of Marketflow powered by Thor. Here we are with Cyber Frogs and the most fucking goated community here in NFTs. And we're going to get right down to business because the markets are getting kind of crazy. We've been keeping an eye on our manual trading as well as auto Thor, high performance and volatile markets. It's been working awesome. But we're going to jump right into the Big Daddy Bitcoin here. And we're going to take a look at the 4 hour long call that we have. Um, I'm sorry, the 4 hour short entries that we have. We actually have two. We have two entries that we are stacked up. Um, Entry point for shorts 66,600 to 66,900, and if we continue to pump from there, shorting at 68,300 to 69,100. Now if we take this back to TA and we look at our own chart, here's the first Thor short that we mentioned there. If we pump up to this point, look to potentially, if we break our downtrend and make this pump, make entry, look to short, look to retest, which will probably be right near on this shorter term EMA, and look to take profit at that point. However, in our own TA and what we've been looking at, we've been seeing somewhat of a downtrend. Since this point, this new all-time high right here at 73,800. And since then, we have now dropped 16% into a zone that we had identified with our own TA because of this longer term uptrend that we've had and we've been holding, right? So we knew from point to point, it's been a strong uptrend. And we knew we would probably test this zone again. It's also testing on the longer term EMA, that 200-day EMA. So we said, hey, 62,000 is a good zone to look at potentially DCAing into your bag. And, we have identified some other zones. You see, we have this gap in Bitcoin here, basically between about 57,000 down to 52,000. I think we may test trend at the top of it, within it, and potentially even here on the bottom. We often see 30 to 40% pullbacks in the bull run pre-halving, right? So if I measure from the top down, that puts this zone right here at about 30%. And then what has been a long time known zone for Bitcoin, what we obviously saw a lot of resistance here, a lot of resistance, and never really tested again for support, was down here at that 46,000, which brings us to that 40% retrace. So again, coming down here, holding this longer term support, longer term uptrend, this green line here, that zone would bring us down to that 30% retrace, which is completely reasonable in a bull run and in my opinion still healthy. And that, like I said, 30 to 40% retrace is what we often see in the pre-halving pullback of the bull run, and that 40% would put us right here at 46. So those are the DCA zones looking bullish, and ultimately, we have our downtrend here. And what we're looking for is the break and the retest. When are we going to start making some, instead of lower, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low? When are we going to start making some higher lows and higher highs? So we're looking for this break and retest, wherever it happens to be. So we're going to add to our bags each time we get to one of these little zones. But ultimately, we're looking for the break and retest on some type of support to load up. But there's the Thor call for Bitcoin at this point. The nearest call that's going to hit is this short here. We're keeping in mind that zone. And we could reasonably hit that right now. We could find this support right here on the 200-day EMA. We could pump back up looking to test and make that kind of double top. That'd be a 15% pump here. And whether we continue up from that point or not, that could give us our double top to then either break out from and continue this trend, or continue to break down as we've talked about and maybe visit some of these lower zones. Remember, it's an if then game. If Bitcoin continues to drop, then we have our zones to DCA. If Bitcoin pumps out, then we have our zone to look to potentially open up short. Now, I want to take a moment before I extend to Solana. This is not financial advice. None of this is. I'm just a bozo that draws lines on a chart. But I would like to take a second to touch on my sentiment in the market, especially for those that have listened to Marketflow, or what was previously the Trader Tuesdays here with the Cyberfrog streams. We advocate spot trading, and the Thor is geared toward spot trading, low risk. We are in the riskiest assets ever in crypto, but, a low risk approach to trading in a very risky environment. Let's say that. So I've talked about through the previous months about almost using your tokens to farm a little bit of tokens. Sell a little bit of your spot bag at some of those clear resistances, and add to your spot bags as price went down. Just kind of use your token to farm more token, because we were in that accumulation zone, right? We wanted to make more. We wanted to just accumulate as much as we could. So in those sideways zones, you can see we were buying, we were selling, and we were doing what we could with the bags that we had to make more. Now that we have left those zones, and we got good signs that looks like we're in a bull market, I've changed my thought process and my approach. Instead of, as I was talking about, selling some tokens in order to buy back and buy back and buy back and get your tokens cheaper, right? Using what you got to make more. Now we're at the point in the market where I feel like you should just be hanging on to what you've got. And instead of course, if you've got spot bags, you should be taking some profits as you're on your way up. No one goes broke taking profits. However, instead of selling some of your spot bag here at this short and looking to buy back here 5% and add an additional 5% to your spot bag. Again, not financial advice, do your own research, but maybe consider opening a short if this call triggers. And the reason I say that is a lot of times it's better to have time in the market than timing the market. Because when a bull run takes off, it can just leave your ass behind. And so instead of reducing the spot bags that we had spent so much time accumulating, right? Yeah, take some profit, but instead of reducing your spot bag, looking to add a little more, maybe open up a short to hedge your bet. And then if you would like to, you can add to your spot bag on some of these supports. But I in my personal view of the market, we are through the zone of accumulation, and we have entered the zone of the bull. And so I want to be taking profits on my way up, not necessarily reducing my spot bag to try to take advantage of a shorter term short, right? those are where you may look to open a short to hedge your bet. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Everyone has their own trading method, but I don't want to be left behind in the market when it looks like it's making big legs to the upside by taking shorter time frames out of my spot pack. Moving on to Solana, because we love Solana. We got love for Solana. We got to see what's up. If we go to Thor, we're going to go to Sol USDC. We have asterisks next to it to let us know that we do have calls. And we actually do have an active call right here in the 4-hour time frame right now. So what this call for Solana was, if Solana entered the zone between $167.39 and $170.75, look to open a long and look to take some profits at $185.84. You see, we did dip below 170.75, and there we did hit that entry zone. So that's why this call has turned active and now is in profit. So this is the call we had here. I'll go ahead and label it as our Thor long. This was our Thor long call here. So you see we have hit the zone. This call has now become active and it is currently in profit. Not far, but it is in profit at this point. Now, remember, what Thor is saying in this call is if we hit this zone, which we did, then it is highly probable we hit this point, retest this point of 185.50, right? It is not saying that this is the bottom and from here we're going to hit the profit point and then just continue to Valhalla. It's not saying that this was the bottom. It's also not saying that this was the bottom and we're going to go up, hit take profit point, and then drop straight down again. Thor's not saying any of that. What Thor is saying is if we hit this entry zone, which we did, then it's highly probable that we hit 185.50 before the market then finds resistance or support and continues in a new direction. And when it does, we will refer back to Thor and look for a new short or a new long post. This call is not saying that this is the bottom, and if you didn't get Solana at 167 to 170, you missed the bottom. It is saying that it is highly probable because we have triggered this zone and found some support at this point, that it is highly probable that we retest this 185.84 zone. Now, this trade does look to be on its way up. It's not necessarily gone if you're looking at it now. I never recommend that you chase a trade, but maybe we drop back down into this entry zone. Or how would you take this trade if it was about to upcome or if we re-enter entry zone? This is where the risk management tool comes in. You see, if you hover over risk management tool, setup trade pops up. And this is where you learn to take the trade with your exact risk management. Whatever your risk tolerance is, you'll see the amount you are willing to lose. Risk currency, USDC, the amount you are willing to lose. So if I'm willing to lose $10 on this trade, I'm not willing to lose any more than $10. That's my risk tolerance, 10 USDC. I will not lose any more than 10 USDC. Calculate. I'm going to just look right here in the median of Thor. You can see we have a 1 to 1, 1 to 5, 1 to 2. I'm going to go right here into the median. I'm going to stick with take profit 1, my risk tolerance of $10, and look at the median. Again, how do we do that? I want to look at buying this trade. Let's set up the trade and figure out my risk management. Set up trade, risk management. I'm going to enter $10 because that's the amount I'm willing to risk. I don't want to lose more than $10 per trade. Calculate. So now I know I'm going to go buy 0.72 SOL at $167.40, and I'm going to sell 0.72 SOL at $185.84 for profit at take profit 1, and I'm going to set a stop loss at $153.56. So again, I know I'm going to buy 0.72 SOL at 167.39. Now, what happens next is I'm either going to hit my take profit and sell that 0.72 SOL at 185.84 for profit, or I'm going to sell that 0.72 SOL at $153.56 at my stop loss for a loss of $10 because that's what I put in as my risk tolerance. Now, if I get stopped out, okay, I've lost money. I just look to anywhere else that there's another Thor call that I may look to take again, right? I have a long call that just triggered here on injective. I have a short for injective. I go to risk management, I set up, and I get ready for my next trade, right? So getting stopped out isn't a bad thing. Getting stopped out of a trade preserves your capital for the next trade, right? You live to fight another day. You need more firepower. Hanging on to a bag that continues to go down and you're losing your trading capital and holding a bag of regret and the feeling of regret is way worse than getting stopped out and living to fight another day. So don't be afraid to get stopped out. But that being said, with this sentiment of the market, you need to decide what type of investing or trading you're doing. If you are looking to make money over the next few months in this bull market, maybe you don't want to use a stop loss and you want to just DCA and add to your bags. If you are looking to have a trading account that you are looking to just strictly increase USD value, yes, then you're going to want to use a stop loss. However, if you're just trying to accumulate some Bitcoin on dips because you feel like you missed it back in the accumulation zone that we were calling forever ago, you know, that's up to you. Add to your bags as you please. But yeah, I wouldn't. If you're looking to add to your bags of SOL or Bitcoin or whatever for the long run, maybe you don't want to use the stop loss. Maybe you just want to use Thor, the 4-hour and daily calls when there are dailies as DCA zones. What's a good price where I should add a little Solana to my bag, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you have to exit out of that take profit point, but maybe you want to take a little profit. This is the power of Thor. Gives you the data points and you as a trader can execute. The power of here on Marketflow is we show you the different options of how to use Thor. There's endless ways to use Thor. You don't even need to know how to look at charts, right? We just showed you how to take this SOL call without even looking at a chart. You want to take this SOL call. You want to enter here and exit here. Great. Risk management. let's say 5. You're only willing to lose $5. Calculate. Okay, you're going to buy 0.36 SOL at 167, sell 0.36 SOL for profit at 185, or hit your stop loss at 153 for a loss of $5. You never once looked at a chart and you've now made a trade. And you've done the important part of your trade of protecting and managing your risk, right? Risk management is the most important part of trading. You can be an absolute shit trader. You can be wrong most of the time, and you can still be profitable by properly managing your portfolio risk and also your individual trade risk. These are also things that we get into in Marketflow. So join us. These sessions will go on often for several hours. We've been on stream for 2 hours before we even started this recording, so you're already missing alpha. Okay, we talked about Solana. These are some of my personal TA zones, of course, not financial advice. Do your own research. But just as we talked about Bitcoin and some of these zones I had, and we often see these, 30 and 30 to 40% retrace to hit the zones on a, pre-halving retrace in a bull run. If we look at Solana, we've identified some of these zones that we may revisit too. And if we grab our measurement tool and we look, here we are at 20%, and here we are at 30%. And at the bottom of those zones, just nearing 40%. And retesting 40% would be right here at $125. We're at 170, if we're at about 175, we were at 210 to go to 125. You see how these are psychological numbers, right? It's not like, just completely arbitrary. So I definitely see that 30 to 40% retrace zone in Solana is definite possibility, which would put us at, say, an average of $135 Solana. However, Solana, in my opinion, has been leading the fucking market. Phantom is leading the app downloads way over MetaMask, among other things. Solana's strong as fuck. It's our time, right? We may not revisit this zone. So I have another zone I've identified here where we kind of got out of pretty quick without really retesting back into, and that's the 150 to the 160 to 155. Again, nice round numbers, 155, 160. So I will look to add a little bit of Solana. Again, a little bit. I'm not blowing my wad. Add a little bit to the soul bag at this point if we see these zones. Add a little bit more at this point. Especially, we knew this was going to be resistance here. We saw resistance. We found support, blew through it. If we come down and test this longer term support, I'm definitely adding up. I know this chart looks crazy. Oh, I should have used my market flow chart. We've been looking at the Tuesday trader review charts we've been using for a long time. That's why they look so crazy. But you can see down here on this support is right here, 125. That's where we could potentially see that buy zone incoming for us. So we are going to look for that down here on support near that 125 zone, and where we saw resistance many times before it became support, right? So if I get my horizontal here, you see this was our top. We put a horizontal, it stayed as resistance, and then we kind of danced on as support, but we could check this again one more time. Remember, it's an if-then game. Even Thor is not telling you where price is going to go. It's saying if price hits this point, let me get rid of that. If price hit this entry point, then look to go long. If price hits this point, then look to take profit. And Thor is usually right in these calls. So that's why we follow them. But we like to pair our own TA as well. We're not blind, right? We want to know where in the flow in this market we are. We want to follow the flow. I said this earlier to the people on stream, and I think we're actually, I'll come back to that. We're going to look at something here in a minute. We're going to look at bonk because we talked about bonk for a while. Bonk is something that us here in the Tuesday Trader Review and the Marketflow streams have most certainly made money off of. You see this circle here. This is the circle we said, okay, this is the middle of our DCA zone. This is our accumulation. If we are in the middle of this zone or below, this is where you want to be stocking up on bonk and get ready for the big moves, right? We made our big moves and we went up into profit. We advocated for taking profit after we left the zone, of course. And we say take profit, even to this first resistance point was over 100%. Up to this second point where you had plenty of time to get out, even on the retest to get out, was 200% from our accumulation. Now, I did start to accumulate a little at the bottom of this zone, and here on stream with everybody, I actually did buy a little bit more back on this zone, only because this is a brand new Marketflow wallet that I opened where I never had chance to load up in these zones. So since this was a new wallet, I DCA'd near the bottom of this zone, and now I DCA'd a little bit into the bottom of this zone. I am comfortable doing that. But we called this range a long time ago, and we know that Bitcoin and the major alts often have that 30% retrace, right? So what we often see from, altcoins and what I'm just going to straight up call shitcoins, we'll see that double to near 60%. And if you look right to the bottom of this zone that we called from the very top of this last pump is exactly 60%. So now that I've seen a 60% retrace and I've seen a bounce and we're entering the zone I was looking to accumulate before, I'm looking to accumulate a little bit. We've got another powerful tool, Thor. Let's look at bonk with Thor. See if we've got a 4-hour call, but we've got no dailies. What is our entry here? Wow, that is a big entry zone there. Just because bonk has so many numbers, I'm just going to measure what is that retrace there. That's saying 40%. So let's go see what that's at on our own TA. 40% from current point. That's right down to the middle of this first entry zone. Right back to our initial entry. Look at that. 40% was right back to the middle of our accumulation phase in the very beginning. So good on you if you took profit. I am looking to load up on these. If it does come back down to here, man, then I'm really bullish. But I don't know that it will. It might. But since we're already looking at a 60% retrace, I see that as pretty healthy. It's kind of what was expected. I like it. We're going to look at cock because I've been posting cock all over. Cock coin, calm the fuck down. We're going to be looking at cock coin because I've been posting cock coin all over my Twitter. We made some good moves in cockcoin with our wallet. You can see we bought here just because we were near support. We bought down here when we were, this circle's just marking the candle, not the point or price point we bought. So we bought down here, we bought down here at the break, and we took profits. And basically we put $5 USDC in. We put $5 USDC in. We took $10 USDC out, and we're now, or I'm sorry, 12. So we made 20% on our trade in USDC holding, and we still currently have a bag of cock that we can hold for the bull. So we made 20% profit on that trade, and we've got 50% of our cock position still ready to go. And if you look, we've come almost all the way back down to our entry points again, right? Now, if we measure this, we're going to see where 50 to 60%, look at that, right back down on that zone that we established after breakout. 60% retrace. These are the things we look for in the patterns we try to take advantage of here in Marketflow. We've done extremely well. And if you're part of the frogs community, well, then you most certainly know about Kira. And I know everybody here on stream is happy about what Kira has been doing. We have been pumping Frogs Fuck, Thor Prince, and while we see many markets taking those long retraces, we see Thor Kira just steady making moves. I mean, look at that. After this breakout and retest, we are currently up 324%, but that was even after a 500% pump. And yes, there has been a lot of reduction in supply. We know reduction in supply doesn't just drive price. You also need demand, and the team is working to add that demand too. So the frogs that have been here, been accumulating in all this time, we told you we had something big coming, and we're bringing it back with the bull run vibes and the liquidity of the market. So let's fucking go. Frogs fuck, Thor Prince. I think we've covered all the basics here. Again, get into Thor. Thor is an absolutely powerful tool. We'll also go real quick and look at Auto Thor. If you haven't taken advantage of Auto Thor and you're curious as what it is, Auto Thor is a automatic protocol that basically buys low, sells high when it comes to Sol, and all those Thor calls that we just looked at, it's going to do for you automatically. We're currently at somewhere near, let me refresh this, just make sure we're accurate. We are currently somewhere at, come on, refresh, loading. Okay, just over 3 million, 3.3 mil TVL. Now keep in mind, over 2 million of that is profit for the users, because the users are averaging about 60% plus TVL. You take a look at the contract, and what it's going to do is it's going to buy low, sell high, and it's going to take advantage of not only buying and selling, but you can see it holds different types of Solana and USDC to where it can be staking and earning rewards on the holdings you have in between trades. It's very simple to use. You just enter your desired position, let's say $500, and now you know you're going to need $90.75 USDC and $2.37 2.37 Solana to open this position. It's pretty easy. You can lock it for 90 days, 180 or 365, and you're only going to be taxed on your profits. So if you're not part of Frogs, you've been missing out on your 60%, your portion of this 60% gains in the 3.3 million. You're missing out on the bag of Kira that has been pumping. You're missing out on Thor calls like this that have just been banging. And you are missing out on Killer TA that has made us a bunch of money looking at Bonk, Sol, all kinds of different shitcoins. Rumpty, one of the champs of our community that does an awesome stream on Mondays, which is called the Crypto Dojo. He brought back to my attention one of the zones we had been looking at and identified a long time ago with Wen. And you can see we have now come back down, and I have added a little bit to DCA into that bag. We DCA'd a little bit on this break. The bull didn't continue. That's okay. We DCA'd a little bit back in. We're not blowing our loads here. We're just DCAing in with small portions. And looks like we may be finding support on that zone. Let's take a retrace and see where we are at. And we are right down to that almost 60% point. Filling this, entering this zone is our 60% point. So great job, Rumpty, on keeping an eye on that. This is what we do on the Frog community. We've got DGen shitcoin traders. We've got Neo Tokyo. We've got Monday with Rumpty and Crypto Dojo. We've got Tuesdays with me mode here in Marketflow. We've got Wednesday evenings with Dregs showing us how to decode the market. We've got Thursday mornings coming back again with Marketflow. And then we've got our Frogs Fuck Friday. This community stays on top of shit. We look out for each other. We're going to make our fucking bags together. Frogs Fuck, Thor Prince, know what the market's doing. Work with it. Make your advantages. Don't just be a victim of the market. Know how to play the games. Know where to make your bags. Frogs Fuck, Thor Prince. Appreciate all y'all. This is Market Flow, powered by Thor, presented by Mode.